It was never my intention to betray those closest to me, but sometimes life takes unexpected turns that challenge even the strongest of principles. Growing up, honesty and integrity were the core values instilled in me by my parents. Little did I know that their own actions would ultimately put me in a position where I had to choose between loyalty to family and doing what's right. My name is Emily, and I was born and raised in a small town called Riverview, where everyone knew each other's business. My childhood was relatively uneventful, except for the close bond one shared with my best friend, Sarah. We were inseparable, spending countless hours dreaming of the adventures that awaited us beyond the confines of our sleepy little town. After graduating high school, Sarah and I both pursued business degrees, determined to make our entrepreneurial aspirations a reality. While her family's financial stability allowed her to focus solely on her studies, I had to work multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet. My parents, though loving, were struggling to keep their small bakery afloat, and higher education was a luxury they could ill afford. Despite the challenges, our perseverance paid off, and shortly after graduation, Sarah and I pooled our savings to launch a small artisanal soap company. Those initial years were a constant uphill battle, filled with long hours and countless sacrifices. However, our unwavering determination and Sarah's knack for marketing eventually led to our big break, a coveted feature in a prestigious lifestyle magazine. Overnight, our little soap business became a nationwide sensation, and we found ourselves struggling to keep up with the overwhelming demand. That's when Sarah suggested bringing my younger brother, Jake, on board to help manage the financial aspects of our rapidly expanding enterprise. Jake had always been the smart one, excelling in mathematics and possessing an innate ability to crunch numbers. Fresh out of college and burdened with substantial student loans, he jumped at the opportunity to work with us. I trusted him implicitly. After all, he was family, and we had always been close growing up. For a while, everything seemed to be going smoothly. Our sales were skyrocketing, and we were living the dream we had envisioned since childhood. However, I began to notice discrepancies in our financial records, inconsistencies that Jake repeatedly brushed off as mere clerical errors. At first, I chose to give him the benefit of the doubt, but as the irregularities persisted, a nagging sense of doubt began to creep in. Sarah, ever the voice of reason, gently encouraged me to investigate further, despite my reluctance to suspect my own brother of wrongdoing. Late one night, as we pored over the books, the harsh truth became unavoidable. Jake had been systematically siphoning funds from the company for months. The revelation was a devastating blow, not only to our business, but also to the unbreakable bond one thought we shared. Confronting him was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. Jake didn't even attempt to deny the accusations, admitting his guilt with a haunting sense of resignation. When pressed for an explanation, he remained tight-lipped, refusing to divulge his motives. In the aftermath of his dismissal, I found myself torn between the desire for justice and the lingering love for my brother. Sarah, ever the voice of reason, cautioned against involving the authorities, reminding me that family should come before all else. For months, I grappled with the weight of Jake's betrayal, unable to comprehend how someone I trusted so implicitly could have deceived me so profoundly. It wasn't until a year later, when Jake reached out with a startling revelation, that the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Here is a continuation of the story with an intriguing plot development. Jake's message was brief yet earth-shattering. He claimed our parents had manipulated him into embezzling from the company to fund their secret gambling addiction. At first, I dismissed the allegation as a desperate attempt to shift blame, but the evidence he provided was undeniable. Bank statements, encrypted messages, even audio recordings, all pointed to an intricate web of lies spun by the very people who had raised us to value truth above all else. My world came crashing down as I realized the extent of my parents' deception. Confronting them proved futile, as they vehemently denied Jake's claims, accusing him of fabricating the entire story out of bitterness and resentment. However, their erratic behavior and the unmistakable signs of financial strain only added credence to the ugly truth. I found myself at an impossible crossroads: pursue legal action against my own flesh and blood, or let their transgressions go unpunished. Sarah, ever the voice of pragmatism, urged me to walk away, to salvage what remained of our business and our friendship. But I couldn't let it go, not after the depths of their betrayal had been laid bare. Against Sarah's advice, I launched a discreet investigation, determined to uncover the full extent of my parents' misdeeds. What I uncovered shook me to my core, a tangled web of deceit spanning years, funded by embezzled funds and sustained by a pathological need to chase the thrill of gambling. My parents had sacrificed everything, their principles, their integrity, and ultimately, their own children, on the altar of their addiction. As the evidence mounted, so did the internal conflict that threatened to consume me. How could I reconcile the loving parents I had known with the manipulative, deceitful individuals exposed by the investigation? Sarah, ever the loyal friend, stood by my side, even as the weight of the revelation strained our once unbreakable bond. She understood my need for answers, for closure, even if it meant confronting the harsh reality that my family had become a mere facade. With a heavy heart, I made the agonizing decision to cut ties with my parents, a choice that would forever alter the course of my life. The legal battles that followed were grueling, but they paled in comparison to the emotional turmoil that threatened to consume me. Through it all, Sarah remained my unwavering anchor, her steadfast friendship a constant reminder that blood is not the only tie that binds. Together, we navigated the treacherous waters of betrayal, emerging battered but resolute in our determination to rebuild on the foundations of truth and trust. Here is a continuation of the story with intriguing conflicts and dramatic developments to keep readers engaged. Just when I thought the nightmare was finally behind us, a new bombshell rocked my world. Jake resurfaced, this time with a revelation that made my blood run cold. Our parents' gambling addiction was merely the tip of the iceberg. According to him, they had been involved in a far-reaching money laundering scheme, using our soap company as a front to filter illegally obtained funds. The evidence he provided was damning: encrypted communications, offshore bank accounts, even connections to organized crime syndicates. I was paralyzed with shock and disbelief. How could the people who brought me into this world, the same ones who taught me right from wrong, be so deeply entrenched in criminal activities? Sarah was equally devastated. Having considered my parents as her own family, we found ourselves embroiled in a high-stakes game of deception and danger, as the tentacles of this criminal empire seemed to reach every corner of our lives. Suddenly, the betrayal we had suffered took on a sinister new dimension, and we realized that our very lives could be at risk. Jake, consumed by guilt and remorse, became our unlikely ally in navigating this treacherous new reality. He had been unwittingly drawn into the scheme by our parents, coerced into silence through a combination of threats and manipulation. As we delved deeper into the rabbit hole, we uncovered a vast network of corrupt officials, greedy businessmen, and ruthless enforcers, all with vested interests in keeping the truth buried. Sarah and I found ourselves the targets of intimidation tactics, from anonymous threats to blatant acts of vandalism. Through it all, our bond was tested like never before. Sarah's unwavering support was the only thing keeping me anchored in the midst of this storm. She became my confidant, my protector, and my source of strength when the weight of the revelations threatened to crush me. The legal battles that ensued were like nothing we could have ever imagined. We found ourselves pitted against a formidable foe, with seemingly unlimited resources and a willingness to play by no rules. Every victory was hard-won, every step forward a grueling battle against a relentless adversary. Yet, through it all, our determination to see justice prevail never wavered. We had come too far, sacrificed too much, to allow the forces of corruption and greed to triumph. With Jake's insider knowledge and Sarah's unwavering support, we mounted a formidable offensive, slowly but surely unraveling the intricate web of lies and deceit. The road ahead was fraught with danger, but we were resolute in our commitment to exposing the truth, no matter the cost. For we had learned the hard way that some betrayals cut deeper than others, and that the bonds forged by shared adversity can sometimes eclipse even the strongest of blood ties. As the legal battles raged on, the stakes only seemed to escalate. We soon realized we were mere pawns in a much larger game of power and greed that extended far beyond our comprehension. Influential figures from the highest echelons of society were implicated in the sprawling criminal network, their tentacles reaching into the corridors of power. Sarah and I found ourselves caught in the crosshairs, targeted by those desperate to preserve their ill-gotten empires. The attacks became more brazen, more personal. My car was firebombed. Sarah's apartment was broken into, and ominous threats against our loved ones flooded our inboxes. Through it all, Jake remained a paradoxical figure, his remorse seemingly genuine even as his insider knowledge proved invaluable in unraveling the conspiracy. He became our reluctant guide through the labyrinth of deceit, his intimate familiarity with the inner workings of the criminal enterprise both a blessing and a curse. The strain of constantly looking over our shoulders took its toll on our relationship. Sarah and I, once inseparable allies, found ourselves at odds more frequently, the pressure of the circumstances magnifying even the smallest disagreements into explosive confrontations. Trust became a luxury we could ill afford, as the web of lies and double crosses tightened around us. Allies turned into adversaries overnight, and seemingly innocuous encounters carried the weight of potential betrayal. It was during one of our darkest moments, when the weight of the world seemed to be crushing us, that an unlikely ally emerged. A high-ranking law enforcement official, disillusioned by the corruption festering within the system, reached out to us with a daring proposition to go undercover and infiltrate the criminal organization from within. The risks were immense, but so was the potential reward, a chance to bring down the entire operation and expose the true extent of the depravity that had ensnared my family. Sarah was vehemently against the idea, unwilling to jeopardize our lives and our mission for what she saw as a foolhardy gamble. But I was resolute, driven by a burning desire for vengeance and a desperate need for closure. Against her better judgment, Sarah stood by my side, her loyalty unwavering even in the face of such perilous circumstances. What followed was a descent into a world of shadows and duplicity, where every move carried the weight of life and death. Jake became our tenuous link to the criminal underworld, navigating the treacherous waters of betrayal and deception with a skill born of bitter experience. As the lines between ally and enemy blurred, we found ourselves questioning everything we thought we knew. Our very identities malleable constructs in service of our mission. Trust became a currency to be traded judiciously, and even the slightest misstep carried the potential for catastrophic consequences. Through it all, the driving force that propelled us forward was the unwavering belief that justice would ultimately prevail, that the truth we sought was worth any sacrifice. And as the noose tightened around the criminal empire, we clung to the hope that our actions would not only bring down those who had betrayed us, but also serve as a beacon of hope for others ensnared in the insidious web of corruption. The deeper we delved into the criminal underworld, the more convoluted and far-reaching the conspiracy appeared to be. What had begun as a quest for personal vindication quickly morphed into something much larger, a battle against a vast network of corruption that permeated every facet of society. Our undercover roles became increasingly precarious as we found ourselves navigating a labyrinth of shifting allegiances and hidden agendas. Trust became a rare and precious commodity, with even the slightest misstep capable of shattering the delicate facade we had constructed. Sarah's initial skepticism gave way to a grim determination, her unwavering support the only constant in a world where nothing was as it seemed. We clung to each other, not just as friends, but as partners in a war against forces that threatened to consume us both. Jake's role became increasingly pivotal, his intimate knowledge of the criminal syndicate proving invaluable in helping us navigate the treacherous terrain. Yet, his loyalties remained a constant source of doubt, the scars of his past transgressions a persistent reminder of the depths to which even the closest of bonds could be shattered. As we delved deeper into the heart of the organization, the stakes escalated to dizzying heights. We found ourselves embroiled in a high-stakes game of international intrigue, where the lines between legitimate business and illegal enterprises blurred to the point of non-existence. Powerful figures from the realms of politics, finance, and even law enforcement were implicated, their influence and wealth serving as an impenetrable shield against prosecution. We soon realized that we were mere foot soldiers in a war that had been raging for decades, our personal vendetta a mere footnote in a much larger saga of greed and corruption. The physical and emotional toll of our double lives began to take its toll, as the constant state of hypervigilance and the ever-present threat of exposure wore us down. Sarah and I found solace in each other's embrace, our bond forged in the crucible of adversity and strengthened by the shared understanding that only those who have stared into the abyss can truly comprehend. Yet, even as the darkness threatened to consume us, we remained resolute in our pursuit of justice. Each hard-won victory, each tiny crack in the facade of the criminal empire, fueled our determination to see this through to the bitter end. The climactic confrontation, when it finally came, was a maelstrom of violence and betrayal, played out against the backdrop of a world teetering on the brink of collapse. Allegiances shifted with dizzying rapidity as the lines between friend and foe blurred beyond recognition. In the end, it was the strength of our bond, forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the crucible of betrayal, that proved to be our greatest weapon. As the dust settled and the smoke cleared, we emerged battered but victorious. Our quest for justice finally realized, but the scars of our ordeal ran deep, a constant reminder that some wounds can never truly heal. Sarah and I clung to each other, survivors of a war that had exacted a heavy toll on our souls, yet emboldened by the knowledge that our sacrifices had not been in vain. As we looked towards an uncertain future, one thing remained clear: the bonds of friendship and loyalty had proven stronger than the insidious tentacles of corruption and deceit. And though the road ahead was shrouded in shadow, we knew that together we could weather any storm that dared cross our path. In the aftermath of our hard-won victory, Sarah and I found ourselves adrift, struggling to rebuild the lives that had been shattered by the maelstrom of betrayal and corruption. The scars ran deep, both physical and emotional, a constant reminder of the sacrifices we had made in pursuit of justice. Yet, even as we grappled with the trauma of our ordeal, a profound sense of purpose took root within us. We had witnessed firsthand the insidious tentacles of greed and deceit that had ensnared even the highest echelons of power, and we vowed to dedicate ourselves to eradicating this cancer from society. With Jake's reluctant assistance, we embarked on a mission to expose the full extent of the criminal enterprise, leveraging our hard-won knowledge and the evidence we had painstakingly gathered. It was a long and arduous battle, one that often felt like a losing proposition against the vast resources and influence wielded by our adversaries. But we persevered, bolstered by the unwavering belief that truth and justice would ultimately prevail. Each small victory, each tiny crack in the facade of corruption, fueled our determination to see this through to the bitter end. In the end, it was our bond, forged in the crucible of adversity and tempered by the fires of betrayal, that proved to be our greatest strength. As the dominoes began to fall, and the once untouchable figures of power were brought low, we stood tall, united in our conviction and emboldened by the knowledge that our sacrifices had not been in vain. The road to healing was long and arduous, but we walked it together, supporting each other through the darkest of times. Sarah's unwavering presence was my anchor, a constant reminder that true friendship transcends even the deepest of wounds.